Why do you love crypto?
There's no other way to describe it. It is the most cutting edge part of marketing. There's more freedom than any other industry.
And that makes work not feel so much like work. It makes it feel like just another great part of your life that helps like shape who you are, why you're doing what you're doing.
You can take what you've already done that was innovative, throw it away and build something new.
You want to give someone something versus taking something away. Projects underestimate the power of community. Numbers are fake. The only thing that's real is culture and vibes.
Leadership is not a means to an end. It's just a calling on the way to shaping the reality of everyone else. What are you cost signaling? How have you done the hard things to show that you've done the hard things? If you have a cool identity as a brand or anything, and you stick to what your guns are, then eventually it's going to work.
Economics.
Very good. Welcome, Sam. What were we just talking about? We were just talking about the FT and
Lunch with the FT.
Lunch with the FT. So I'm not familiar with this. Tell me the concept again.
So the concept of Lunch with FT
Yeah.
is a conversation with a world leader or someone of interest at the time.
Yeah.
And it's a column. It's a legacy column on the Financial Times, and they will always list out what they ate and the bill and the meal where they went. But it would be telling of who they are, what they like to order. I think there was like Lunch with the FT with there's the guy who climbed the 7 peaks.
Oh, Nims. Yeah.
So they would feature like topical people like that. And I think there was one with Vitalik.
What did he eat? Do you remember?
No, I don't. We need to fact check that.
I bet it's like Haribo's or something.
There's a full book. I don't think it was Haribo's, but there was a full book on Lunch with FTs, and I'm sure they do different volumes. But because you asked me, what podcast do you appreciate, and I like to think of it old school, the classic print.
That's
Lunch
really
with
cool.
the FT.
Why do you think Lunch with the FT was so good? What is it about it?
I think number one, it's classy. I think podcasts, there's a lot. There's and I do appreciate the meaningful podcasts. But I think when you talk about podcasts, I think back to kind of Oprah Winfrey style sit down interviews, and she was the one who kind of made it a thing. And then I think podcasts kind of evolved from there.
Yeah.
But I think Lunch with FT it's classic. There's another element to it. It's not just like you have a conversation, but it's like, what are you eating? Because that says more and tells you more about the person than just a chat.
Yeah, definitely. I guess maybe the next one.
Yeah, maybe we should be eating something.
That'd be a great idea. We
We
could
should have had
a restaurant.
Yeah, we should
Maybe hire
we either
out
do
a
the restaurant
restaurant.
or we order in, but like what we order says something about what we like.
That's a really good idea because everyone wants more personality from the people they listen to, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I guess in social media, you don't get the thing that when you meet someone in person, you see how they speak to the waiting staff, you see what they're wearing,
Yes.
all this. So
And like what type of wine you have, how much wine you have.
Are you a wine fan? Do you like wine?
I don't drink that much. I like to appreciate one glass of wine because I can only handle one. But I do appreciate with the meal it has to pair well with the meal.
Okay, so curation, not volume.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I guess that segues into what you do, like curation, not volume, right?
Yeah.
Sam, tell us what you do.
So I run a PR firm that helps crypto and Web3 companies tell their stories. And through telling their stories, we help build trust and credibility for what they're doing in this space. Trust and credibility is hard to come by in crypto in such a volatile and
Wild West, right?
yeah, a volatile industry that's also still so young. And I say this at a time when Bitcoin has been around for at least, 13, 14 years. Yet it's still so new. So I think telling stories is what we help our clients do.
I think it's the most important thing, right? On a social level. But I think actually speaking of stories, what's your story? Like, how did you get into this? I know you've got a journalism background, right?
Yeah. So I was born in Malaysia. My parents are Malaysian and I'm Malaysian Chinese. When I was 4, I moved to Indonesia. So I've had quite a global childhood. I moved to Indonesia, went to American school in Indonesia, exposed to the world there. Then I moved back briefly to Malaysia, then moved to Australia. I've always liked telling stories. I remember going on a holiday with my family in Bali, and I actually journaled every single thing. I journaled, and I actually created a magazine. Like a
Wow.
booklet
How old were
of,
you?
Like, I think I was maybe like 9, 10. I remember I was like, I printed out what I typed out, and then I stuck it on with like photos and everything. So I was always like journaling, and then I've always liked when I saw on CNN or on BBC the reporter, and I've wanted to be an anchor basically. I wanted to be or not an anchor, but rather that journalist that's on the ground when there's a tsunami or there's a volcano,
Yes.
and I wanted to be that person.
Wow.
So I've always wanted to be a journalist. So I studied journalism at university in Australia. And I actually got my first job in Singapore. So going overseas, doing that kind of foreign correspondent dream role. And I started working as a producer, journalist and producer for Channel News Asia, which is they call it the BBC of Asia. And that's my first job. And so I trained as a journalist, wanted to be a journalist, see myself as a journalist. But then I went freelancing, and there's not a lot of money in journalism. And I guess I couldn't make it work because it was like I would invest so much of my time investigating one story, and I would pitch it, it gets published, and then like it's just one link on a newsfeed, and I'm like, I invest like this is my 1 month's work, and I would just get like one-off payment for that.
Yeah.
But I loved it. But again, I couldn't make it sustainable. And that's, I guess, journalism today as well. It's not sustainable financially. So then I went home to Melbourne trying to figure out what my next move was. Fell into fintech PR. Then I moved to London. And then I got introduced to crypto. Here I am running a crypto agency. It kind of happened accidentally.
Going back to what you said about you saw these journalists on TV. What was it about them? What did they make you feel?
I think I appreciated that they were telling a story and that they were giving you insight and leading you to a story or something. Like they were there informing you about what was going on the ground. And I think what was appealing was that they were where the action was. So I thought that was really cool. It was like, imagine being, I mean, obviously I'm not praising natural disasters, but it's where the real story is,
where the interest is,
where
right?
the interest
Impact.
is, and the impact is, and like you're there on the ground, and like they are the first to know about it, and they are telling you. And I really liked that part. I liked being the first to know something. And actually, I thought that journalists were the first to know something, but then now I'm in PR. It's the PR folks that know the story before it breaks,
so
right?
You're further closer to source.
Yes,
right?
because so in journalism, you do look at PR people, and you sometimes, I mean, I admit that I was like they're like, oh, PR people, they're so annoying. They don't know what they're doing, and they don't know what's going on. But actually, they know more than you do because they know the story before they come to you. Although there is obviously a game, right, that journalists and PR folks play, because journalists are often out to find the scoop. The PR folks are like gatekeeping that information until it's ready to be released to public, right? So I guess who's controlling the narrative here?
Yeah, and that's the most important question probably of our generation, right? Especially with social media and everything.
Yeah, but behind every leader and behind every organization, there is a whole communications team that's controlling the narrative. But people don't see that.
That's really interesting.
Like behind the president of the United States of America is a full press secretary team, and how they manage the press gallery and the journalists, like who's controlling it?
That's really interesting. Like, do you think that it's changed now with Trump and the way he communicates?
Well, Trump communicates directly, on X, but there's still, I mean, his press sec is fire. Like,
Do you think so? Yeah. What makes you say that? What makes a good press sec?
well, I'm gonna have to admit I don't know her name, but I've seen her. She's blonde, and she's just. I think you need to have confidence, and you need to, when you make a point, you need to be clear, and you need to stand your ground. And if you basically your body language, your tone of voice makes a huge difference. And like a good comms person knows how to control their body language and their tone of voice when they share information with you.
That's
Because
really
a lot
interesting.
can be revealed if you're weak in your point or you're weak in your stance.
Interesting. I guess to make a good press secretary is the same as just good communication in general, right?
Yeah.
That's a tough job because you must be having to fight different angles and put the point across, right?
Yeah. The other PR machine that
Mm-hmm.
I admire is the royal family,
Oh, right.
the
Okay.
British royal family.
Yeah. I don't really know much about it. Like, what is.
I think the British tabloids are the most brutal tabloids, right? Like you've
They are.
heard of the phone hacking scandal, and I actually think the British tabloids are the most savage tabloids in the world.
Yeah.
And I think the royal family's comms team, and I don't know, again, we don't know what happens really behind the scenes. And I'm sure you may have read, there's like the whole, when, Meghan and Harry were still in, the UK, there's that,
They went nonstop. They went nonstop on Diana. They went nonstop on everyone, right?
yeah, they went on something, yeah, but the royal family, how they manage the message. But that's why I think the comms team behind the scenes are probably working so hard. Like, I mean, you see when you watch The Crown, if you watch The Crown, right? Like you see when the Queen's, I don't know, right hand comes in for breakfast, shows out all the papers, and then starts reading about what is the paper saying about her and about their family. Again, that is the OG PR machine.
That's true.
But I do think that the royal family are like the best PR machine for the UK, for England.
That's interesting. Yeah. People always question what's the point of the royal family. And I think, they had a tough job with Prince Andrew, right? Like, what can you do?
Yeah, well, exactly. No, but that's something they're working overtime.
But there's no story about it, What do you think, because this podcast is about money, culture, and crypto, and artificial intelligence. We've talked about culture a bit. What do you think lessons from this people can put into crypto?
Let's just take it back to money. And actually, for me personally, why Bitcoin, why crypto? So I was introduced to Bitcoin in 2017, and I was really fascinated by the fact that Bitcoin is this peer-to-peer payment system that no central authority owns. And I thought there was power in that. And that's why I'm here today and still working with crypto companies. And then a lot of other things have emerged from that, like, the Ethereum, and then, the technology on top of that, the smart contracts and everything. But money is interesting because money is, when you go back to the history of money, it's like, money is actually just the medium, like it's the message. Money is actually communications too, right? Because, and I did a podcast on the story of money with Yapcast, and it's like, the original form of money, I mean, they talk about it, the Yap stone just happens to be called Yap as well.
I didn't know that story. What is the Yap
So
stone?
the Yap stones, so the island of Yap, the way they transferred ownership and of anything was through these big stones, and that's actually people, if you trace back the history and the origins of money, it actually is from the Yap stone. I'm not making this up because it's my last name and our company name, but it is the Yap stone.
Yeah.
That's the origins of money. They started exchanging these stones, but they were big and you weren't able to move them. You just transfer like rights to it. So that's kind of money. Because actually money is, because, also then if you think about bartering, when people we didn't have a currency, it's still also like it's you're transacting something and you're also sending a message, and you're like, give me 5 bags of rice for this, for whatever. Money is also communications.
Yeah, it is.
So talking about money, and that's kind of where all of this is really interesting, right? Because money evolves and has evolved in our time. So Bitcoin and crypto is this new evolution of where money is heading, because I think in this time that we're talking, the banks and the governments are determining what money is, right?
Exactly.
They're deciding on the interest rates, they're deciding on how the figures that they have, and they're controlling it. But that's why Bitcoin is so revolutionary because it's exposing the opaqueness
Yes.
of banking today and
Yes.
centralized organizations today,
Exactly.
which is why I'm in this industry and which is why I'm interested in where money's heading with crypto.
Definitely. I like to think of it as a global arbitrage. Before, if you wanted to transact with anyone, you had essentially three things, right? State violence, government fiscal policy, and value. And then in and out of countries, someone told you what you could and couldn't do. And then now you have this option where if someone puts in a policy somewhere and then you don't agree with it, you just put your money into Bitcoin. It's happening or stable coins. It's happening in Argentina, Turkey.
Exactly.
So this isn't, this is something that's been building over, I guess, more than a decade now, right? What do you think about how the story is told? How's that changed over time?
Okay, if I want to be like really real here. So money for many people is like a safety net. People want to, save up and they go because money for some people is security. But there's also a danger in that because, things can happen. Trump could announce tariffs and, your like money could deplete. So it's like, where do you put your trust? Most people, or maybe I'm generalizing, but they put their trust in just how much money they have in their bank account or how much assets they have. And they're like, I'm safe. I've got money and then there's that security in that, right? But it's like, where are you putting your faith? Because if you put your faith in money, material items, I just think a lot about the LA fires with the celebrities that, multi-million-dollar homes just burned down. So if you put your trust in your physical property and you put your trust in your wealth and then it burns down, where do you stand?
And, the insurance companies are trying not to pay them, right?
Yeah, but so then if that's where your trust is, then your life is falling apart and that's not good. But
Exactly. What about in a bank? Is that safe?
Well, that's the thing. The bank might not be safe too because what we're just saying, that it's so opaque. Banks hold the power because because actually, in my bank account right now, my bank could collapse and the number and the figure that I see when I log online could be zero tomorrow. It's very easy to worship money. We're in Dubai right now. It's flashy. There's a lot of materialism. There's a lot of nice things, but is that foundation firm enough? So that's kind of how I think about money.
I think that's a good way to look at it. I think I disagree on the Dubai thing. I think you find that anywhere, right? And in different proportions, right?
Sure, yeah. I'm not just labeling Dubai.
No, I know. But it's a very valid observation, right? Because in your business, right, perception is everything. Before I came here, I had the image of big watches, steroids, and flash cars. But I've been here for a week and I've seen lots of green areas, loads of families, a hunger that I see in New York for people who want to work hard. And essentially, I think it's the American dream of the East because America's changing, right? Reserve currency is going away, maybe. Crazy tariffs, a lot of people are moving here. What about experiences in how you tell stories for these companies? How are they approaching it? Have you seen a change over the time that you've been in business?
Yeah.
And the companies that you've worked with?
So I really love my job and I love that I get to talk to different founders and leaders and teams and everyone kind of brings their own side to of their own philosophy to what they're doing. But I think the alignment of us we call ourselves crypto native agencies. We talk to a lot of crypto founders and we align on that crypto currency like Bitcoin, but also the technology is revolutionary and we all agree on that. And I like that. So in terms of the change, I think I've seen over the 7 years who the true believers are and who are the ones who are just here to make a buck. And then so the ones that are still around, that are staying and that truly believe in what Web3 technology could do for the future and what crypto could do for the future of money, they're here. And so that's what I've seen. That's what I've observed. And actually, we're talking at a time we're in Dubai, we're going to TOKEN2049. I actually really like it when I go to these industry conferences and I see old friends. And I see old friends that we're really truly building. And in terms of when I was doing PR back then, it was much harder to actually PR this industry because there was so much negativity, skepticism. I mean, well, I was PRing Bitcoin and crypto when it was 3,000, which was still kind of significant because the start of 2017, I think it was just 900. Then it moved up to 3,000. But we're like here, and Bitcoin time we speak is like at 95,000. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I believe that like and it feels good for us, for the believers. We're like, told you so. We're here like since it was 3K. But yeah, I don't know. But the price is just one thing. But I think it's more when I say the price, it's more of an indication of the value that is being placed on Bitcoin as an asset, and is now regarded as an asset class by banks because last year Bitcoin ETFs went live and more institutional money is flowing into it. So I know I'm talking about Bitcoin, but then Bitcoin leads the whole entire crypto industry.
It does, yeah. And I think I look at markets like a convergence of belief, right? If everyone agrees on something, that's what a market is.
Yeah. Yes, but I would challenge that because there's the belief. Yes, you're right. But there's also like the fruits of what this industry has brought also like lends itself to the actual like technology and what's happening here. So I think it's both. It's not going away whether we believe it or not. Do you know what I mean?
I understand. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Although I know they say like quantum computing can kill Bitcoin, so I don't know about that. But
maybe, and in theory, we could upgrade it. But I think
it could be upgraded. I
mean, that's above my technical pay grade.
Yeah,
right?
that's above mine too. But hey, we're here.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the beautiful thing about it is, in this industry, you get to have a view, even if it's wrong, on most things because it affects everything. It's the perfect Venn diagram of money, culture, and technology. And now artificial intelligence, right? You mentioned something really interesting about seeing old friends. In hindsight, what are the things you saw in people who went for the long haul, who you think are good actors? How does, a lot of crypto is about investing. A lot of it's around finding good founders. Who do you believe in? You've worked with a lot. What do you see in people that maybe other people don't?
Yeah, I really think it's the belief. Like there's founders that I've worked with and that I still am in touch with that, like they have their entire wealth in crypto. They don't believe in having. I mean, they only use the bank account to just exchange when they need to spend on something. But like all of their wealth is on crypto. Those founders are like, wow, I don't know how they do that. Like I mean, I still have a proper bank account. I have a house. But like there's some that just have their full wealth in crypto. But there is a tension, right? Because there's the true believers, but then the world hasn't caught up yet to where they're at. So like they're almost like so far ahead into the future that their lives are also quite challenging and difficult.
That's really interesting. How so?
Yeah, because they're so full into the belief that crypto is the way to go, but then like they struggle with the day-to-day, like needing to pay for rent and like it's like they have the wealth in crypto, but we still need to live in our current world and the state that it's at to live, to go buy groceries, to go buy rent.
That's a really good point. I think that with stablecoins becoming the new the NFTs of 2025, right? Hot. I mean, the technology is amazing. I think we're going to see a change when T-bill rates decrease. But anyway, the point is that you can transact with stablecoins, but once merchants start accepting them and suppliers start accepting them, then that's a very interesting time.
Yes.
Because you close the currency circle and the barter system that you mentioned before, right? Then we can start just living on it. Like majority of my net worth is in either stablecoins or Bitcoin. Like I don't use my bank apart from paying my mortgage. Right.
Yeah. Right. So you're like one of those.
And then until I can, then I will 100%. And I think that's why Dubai is so great is because, it's crypto native. You can pay with stablecoins for a lot of things, which I love.
No, that's exciting. I mean, even for us as an agency, we get paid in stablecoins, and like it's just faster. It's more efficient. So like when the banks start using it, it's powerful.
Exactly. I love the idea that. No one, I mean, I guess, there's mint control and burn authority and stuff with stablecoins, but with Bitcoin, I just love the idea that it's mine. No one can tell me what to do with it, and no one can touch it. And maybe, you can have like sanctions on wallets, but like I'm not planning to ever have sanctions. So you're in Token. You're coming here. What have you got planned for this week? What are you thinking?
Yep. So I am moderating a panel on Token on Bitcoin's next chapter. So I get to speak to the founder of Stacks, Citria, and Babylon, which I'm very excited about because I have to admit, so got in 2017 and was so amazed by Bitcoin, but then my first few clients were actually Ethereum-based accounts, right? Because that's where the applications and the fun, interesting stories started to come out, like wallets and then like just all the applications that are getting built on Ethereum. Right, so DeFi Summer, I'm taking it back. So DeFi Summer kind of took off, like all that activity happened on Ethereum, but then gas fees
God, those
went
food
higher.
token farms were so much fun.
Yes, but then gas fees started taking, and then this is where we're at right now because there's issues.
I
with
tried to buy a CryptoKitty and I couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. That's where I started too. I tried to buy CryptoKitty, and that's how I learned. So you're really OG. Now that you've seen more businesses kind of emerge because of scalability issues, and that's one thing. Then I have to admit that I kind of rolled my eyes at DeFi on Bitcoin. Like, that's never happened. Like, that chain is so clunky, old. Like, Bitcoin as an asset, great, but Bitcoin for DeFi, how's that going to happen? But I'm not saying I'm here to learn, but money is flowing into Bitcoin, not Ethereum.
Yep.
Institutional money is flowing into Bitcoin. The governments are talking about Bitcoin as a strategic reserve. The U.S. government is seeing that. Bitcoin actually has a lot of money in it, as in people are holding a lot of Bitcoin.
Yep.
So if Bitcoin development can figure it out and can figure a way out for DeFi applications and staking to level up, why not? So that's where I'm at, and I will have questions for.
Yeah.
So that's my main focus here to do that panel, but also here to really just connect. And I know we were chatting as well about like how a lot of the crypto founders are moving here.
Yeah.
Because it's tax free, and I'm here to observe. This is my first time out of the airport and not on transit in Dubai, so I'm here to see what it's all about, why people are wanting to set up shop here.
Someone who I spoke to a couple of days ago, I went for dinner with some friends, and they live here, and they said there's 3 Dubais. There's the work Dubai, then there's like, conference Dubai, which a lot of people fly in, fly out. Yeah. There's holiday Dubai, and then there's just life Dubai, where people, it's the greenery, families, place to chill, paddle, which I love. I think the Bitcoin thing is really interesting in the sense of any asset or capital allocator wants capital efficiency. And if you hold an asset and you're not getting yield on it, it's the lowest capital efficiency, right? It's like the opposite of risk. Because if you hold it, you've got no risk, but you've got no gain. All yield is a form of risk, right? Yeah. Bitcoin's exactly the same. And all of these platforms, the mechanism is exactly the same. Either you take the asset and then lock it natively and then provide a synthetic version. You can either have smart contract or bridge risk. So you can either pick smart contract or multi-sig risk, basically. And whoever controls the issuer of that asset basically controls what happens, and then they run it in DeFi. Creating yield is really difficult. Bitcoin has like a monetary premium, which is people want it. They want to borrow and lend it. Yeah. And they want to do stuff with it, ideally. Yep. But then motivating those holders are really difficult. I think one challenge is, I think from a PR angle, great to think about, is that how do you tell the story of this? Like the moving from Bitcoin as a asset you keep on a paper wallet in your bedroom or air-gapped laptop to something you deploy into DeFi. I think there's a very different mindset. How would you approach that for these founders?
Well, I definitely think it is an education point, because I think right now Bitcoin is just still being seen as an asset class, but it's very interesting to see, even for me, being in this industry, I think more adoption also has to happen for these applications built on Bitcoin. But I do think that Bitcoin development needs to grow. I don't know much about where it's at, but it does need to develop, right? Because up until now, Bitcoin is still seen as an asset class. But I think you make a good point, because of because to be fair, Ethereum did that with staking. There's liquid staking on Ethereum, and they are able to earn yield on Ethereum. Why was that done so seamlessly and easily? I guess Ethereum's smart contract technology enabled that to happen, and also its move from proof of work to proof of stake. So I wonder if that can happen on Bitcoin as well. Or that is probably happening on Bitcoin, but I need to learn more.
I think some people would argue that the strength of Bitcoin is the fact that it's unchanging. Because I think
Yes.
Ethereum, a lot of people don't agree with the proof of stake because how the economics change, and then how the scaling debate in Ethereum is a whole different ballgame. I mean, some people might unfairly say that L2s are a value capture mechanism to like inherit the security, but then just make a shit ton of fees and then not pass it back, which is why it bags it down, right? But who knows? It's very interesting. On the telling the story side, who do you think is doing well? And who do you think is doing badly, more interestingly, on telling their story?
In Bitcoin in general.
Just in general. What do you think of the Zora stuff?
I don't know about the Zora stuff. So.
Basically, the first thing was that there was a post put out that had, base is for everyone, which is a great, great tagline. I like it. It's a great thing. And then the content coin thing was about artists, and then the everyone was changing to different words. It's like base is for everyone, artists, drawing, and then like someone put pimping in there.
Okay. Yeah.
And then that was retweeted by Jesse, which got a lot of pushback, which was understandable.
Yeah.
Which, wherever your political and civil rights leanings go, then different opinions. But then worse than that, someone posted a screenshot of them chatting to a girl on Hinge, and then said, would you like to come on chain or something like that? And then posted it to Jesse or whatever. And then he said, content coin it, and retweeted it. And this girl doesn't know any of this is happening. She's just a girl on Hinge that's got messaged by a guy, and now she's like on the internet as a content coin.
Yeah.
So that was pretty bad, I think.
I think I was thinking about this. We're at a conference, and it's like Token Dubai, and we go to crypto conference, and a lot of our industry is quite global, and we gather at conferences. But we're like an echo chamber. We're literally marketing and talking to the same people. I think the ones that do it well is they're looking at new audiences, and they're going to new markets, whether it's in the gaming industry or whether it's just reaching new developers, because everyone's looking for developers to build on their platform, but then they're kind of preaching to the already converted developers that are building on other chains. So you're not actually going to find new developers in conferences. So the people who are like going into universities, talking to schools, and onboarding the next generation of developers, I think those are people who are doing well. Who are they? I can't tell you specifically, but I do think there are like ecosystems that are looking and reaching out. Like I think, I think we just did a PR partnership with Solana Crossroads, and I think they're in Turkey right now. And I think there was a lot of students there, but that's actually good because you're kind of, for some of these software engineer students, Solana is the first token that they've heard about. They might not even have heard about Ethereum or Ripple. Or Bitcoin. So that's who's doing it well. I think with all that's happening with X and leadership on X, I think it really comes down to founders really being sensible and grounded leaders. And I think, it takes being sensitive to everything. And that's why I do think comms teams are important. I think with X is really, founders are encouraged to post, which we're pushing like founders to post more. As you grow in your influence, there has to be a level of wisdom when it comes to what you tweet or retweet, because it carries more implications. If you just are a developer and you have like 2,000 followers, you're probably like, people aren't gonna like say anything. But if you've got a large following and you're representing a chain or a platform that has like billions of TVL in it, then what you say matters. Like that's with everything.
That's true.
That's why prime ministers and presidents also can't be so unhinged.
Until now. Everyone gives heat to people that are trying things. I mean, I think Jesse's just in the arena. He gets a lot of heat, but like at least he's trying different things. Sometimes they don't work out, but it's also like knowing when to not double down. I think you mentioned something really interesting, which was the responsibility side of things. Do you think that social media, and especially crypto now, the mind share at all costs thing, which I think is probably a cause for the base stuff, do you think that's changed the industry? Where do you think it's going?
In the PR world, we talk about share of voice.
Yeah.
It's like it's like a standard comms jargon. In kind of like traditional comms and PR, they used to talk about share of voice when it comes to, say, your competitors. So say like if you are, what is Microsoft's share of voice compared to Google? And like there's a way they measure it on socials and they measure it on like on media landscape. So like that's kind of been there and it's a thing. And so I think mindshare is just a rebrand of share of voice, and it's a rebrand and it's just the term that we use in crypto because there's a token to it. But actually in traditional markets, it's the same thing with listed companies. So it's like the share of voice or the attention for coin versus Tesla stocks. Same
That's
thing.
true. Yeah.
So mind share, though, I think in crypto is what we're using now to measure the attention of certain tokens.
I agree.
And projects and founders.
I think most markets trend towards efficiency. And I think the attention market was an inefficient market in crypto because we didn't know how to know where the attention was going. And now with Kaito, you've got very efficient markets within a relatively small circle of X, right? Because Kaito is essentially have an arbitrary circle of notable people. And then I don't know if this is exactly, but if you're a smart follower, someone has to decide you're a smart follower, right?
Yeah.
So there's a decision made. And then how your influence is within that circle is mindshare. Because like to mindshare, you need like a top number and a bottom number and you divide it, right? So it's interesting to see how that's become extremely efficient with like the Yap boards and everything. And then when you have rewards for yapping, people are going to try and farm it as well, which we've seen. And it's very interesting to see. What you said was really interesting about Echo Chamber is the teams that are trying to get out of the Echo Chamber. Because once you get out of the Echo Chamber, the token is no longer the product. So if you want to get out, then you need to have a real product, which I think is very interesting. Because where do you think things are going with general purpose blockchains?
Like, let's not even start there. I think let's just start about like exchanges that they're like sponsoring sporting events, and that's actually how you're gonna bring on more users because like them sponsoring Formula One is what's gonna bring the new customer that when they decide what exchange they're gonna use, they're gonna pick the one that they see. Again, it seems like everyone's after developers. But it's like, where are you finding your developers? And also the developers that have been around for the last, let's say 10 years, 13 years, you've got OG developers that have evolved in the crypto industry. But if you think about it, like let's say the age of Bitcoin is where it's at, 13, 14 years. That's not that long. So then you have the Web 2 developers coming into Web 3 and like, again, what I'm trying to say is we also need to think about the next generation and the generations to come. So like whenever I have a friend or like I have nephews that are, choosing what they want to study and they're like preparing to go to university and it's like, are they going to be the ones working in crypto and being the next engineers? And
what did you tell them to do?
Well, firstly, they have to be interested in what they want to do. So it's like, what are they passionate about and go in that direction. But for people, like I talk to friends who maybe have kids and they're like, can you teach my son how, like what's happening in crypto? And I welcome that because we're like gonna be led by the next generation. So we need to think about that.
How does someone find out what they're good at?
Well, what they enjoy, that's a start. And and where they really flourish.
I read something really interesting, which was, what is a thing that you find really easy but everyone else is just mysteriously bad at? That's probably the thing that you're good at, but you never realize you're really good at something until you're like, that was easy.
I think for me and also for my team, comms is very much like that. I think sometimes we don't appreciate how like valuable our skills are because it's so straightforward to me of what to do, say after you land a story or like, even telling a founder to take nice photos, because we just today we landed a nice piece in the National for a client, big story about them moving into the Middle East. And the first thing the journalist asked, can you please give me landscape portraits of pictures? And this story is like, the picture is the first thing you see.
Do you think that founders should get them done professionally?
iPhones today are very good. So a nice iPhone shot is fine, but it's actually what you prefer. Like, if you get a story in the paper, what would you like it to look like? You want it to look nice, and you don't want it to be taken from an iPhone. But although iPhone quality now is good, I think you get you can get by with the iPhone shot for like a profile shot when you go speak at a conference.
How would you want your photo being presented in a newspaper? Yeah.
I would love like a big photo shoot, like with I love interior.
Like Vanity Fair kind of vibes.
Yeah, like
Nice.
I also love interior design, so I would like to do it like in a nice, or if it can be in my living room, or like
Very cool. Yeah.
and like get my makeup done and everything. I still, I mean, I don't hire a makeup team, but every year my team, when we go on our offsite, I always hire a photographer to go take our profile shots and take out a team shot. And then that's content that you can use for materials, pitch decks, showing off like your team, what you do.
Yeah. I think maybe for me it would be like on a park bench reading a newspaper, just like looking up. I don't know why this just popped
So
into my
you're
head.
thinking like,
Yeah, candid.
what's
you
an
know?
edgy like magazine?
I don't know. Something dumb, like something about video gaming, PC gamer, because I love gaming. Maybe that's not the right purpose. You mentioned offsites. How do you build good culture in a big team? Because you've got a big team, right?
Yeah.
How many people?
30.
That's a
plus.
big team.
Yeah, culture is a daily thing. You have to lead from the top directly and efficiently. Because, when you put a lot of people in one place and they're working together daily, there will be tension.
Because everyone works in different ways, right?
Like we have most companies have like their value statements, but we often like to really demonstrate that. So one of our like values is care, but like, how do I actually care? So it actually starts with me. So I'm like, do I actually care about my team? And like that, if I'm not caring for my team and if I'm not caring for our clients, then how can I expect my team to do it? So it's really like leadership and building culture is a very the responsibility is on the leader, the responsibility on the leadership team. So I put more pressure on or like I encourage and there's more onus on, say, the more senior people on our team, and then it should flow from there. So it flows from the top.
If someone was new to leading a team, what actionable stuff would you tell them to do?
I would encourage them to grow personally
In what way? How?
as a leader. So because leadership is a very personal thing. So it's like if you are not leading yourself well, if you're not able to handle your own boundaries, then are you ready to lead? So it's a very personal journey, leadership. So it's like working on yourself.
Yeah.
If you work on yourself, you become a better leader, a better person, better team member. So it's like, it's really working on yourself. So it's not like, instead of, so we like to say this when, when there's like challenges in the business and people go, we should be doing this or we should be doing that. And the word we gets thrown around. We challenge that and we say, should you be doing that? And if you should be doing that, you should say I. So if I like go to my team and I'm like, guys, we should be caring for more of our clients, then it's like, no, I should be caring for our clients. So the responsibility is on you as a leader.
That's interesting.
Because it's unproductive if you're sitting in the meeting and it's like, we should be doing this, we should be doing that, we should be doing many things. Great, but who's taking ownership of that?
Yeah.
Is it like, are you expecting the leader to do that, or are you going to do that yourself?
Yeah. Implicit versus explicit communication is so important because, I mean, when I used to run a team, I had a habit of doing that, of like posting links and just without real clear communication, just being like, should be doing this, right? But then...
But no one's owning it.
Yeah. Where's the resource allocated? And I think it's interesting... explicit ownership of verticals is really important, because if something moves from, let's say, the social layer to the tech layer, or back and forth, or you're doing a product launch is, this is different from PR, but even if you have to coordinate with multiple teams, who's in charge? And that's really important, because I think one person should have a view of everything. Otherwise, you just have like little siloed teams working together. I mean, this is a challenge that like all organizations face, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything surprised you about leadership that you learned that you didn't know along the way?
Well, I think the main thing is that I grow as personally, like my character has.
In what way?
Oh my gosh. Every way. Like it's such a character building experience. Leading people is challenging. Not many people want to manage people. It's
No,
hard.
it
It's
is
tough.
the most difficult.
It's the most difficult. That's why some people are like, I'm never going to be a manager. And
Yeah.
they like to be independent. But like, I believe in multiplying my skills. Because the thing is, we're not building a product. People are our product and our service, right? And that's the most challenging thing. Because if I'm a programmer, I could like program something and it will work. But like, you
Not
can't
always.
program a human being. Well, like,
That's
not
true.
program, but you have to train, you have to develop, you have to be patient. It has to be a gradual, patient process.
That's
and so
very true.
I have grown in my patience. I've grown in boundaries. I've grown in everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think some developers would disagree with you. They'd be like, it's also, I think they're both difficult. I don't want to start a developer marketing war again. That was pretty bad on Twitter. Yeah, I think for me it was how not to be a dick. Because it takes, I think, the complex way of saying being a dick is high ego, right? And I think leadership is about losing your ego.
Yes.
And then doing
oh my gosh,
the stuff
yes.
that's what's necessary rather than... Because a lot of the time
and
people...
not take so basically doing the work, giving your team the credit when things go well, and
Exactly.
and being the responsible when things aren't going well. So that's also very hard, right? Because it's like when things go well, like it's like, well, we did it, but no, you got to give you praise.
Exactly, you raise them up.
And so actually, when you become a leader, you kind of give up your right to be right, and you are.
That's a great phrase. Tell me more. What do you mean?
You're the last to
I love
eat.
that, yeah.
Like everyone eats first.
Yeah.
You're the last.
Because you shouldn't seek glory as a leader.
No.
And then actionable stuff, like stuff that surprised me over time was everyone's got a different perception of a situation. And yours is usually just one. And the job of a leader is to aggregate all the views, individual lenses in your team, and you make a decision. Because if you seek everyone's opinion, you'll never get anywhere. You maintain optionality and it just doesn't work. So you have to just, it's also like taking
Decisiveness.
risks. Exactly. Decisiveness, taking risks.
Because it's just trying things. But again, like I said, like not sitting in a meeting and like everyone going, we should be doing, like have a list of what we should be doing, but no one doing it. So it's like then in that meeting, if I would just assign, delegate, decide who's owning it.
Yep, I agree with that. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Because people want to be led, actually. People want to be told what to do. People don't, not many, like, I think everyone should grow and want to take on leadership, but like, people also love following.
That's
because
true.
it's like easy to do it.
Because there's certainty, right?
Yeah, but also it's like, yes, certainty, I think there's, I don't know, maybe protection as well. Because it's like, yeah, my leader told me to, and if things go wrong, like it's on them.
Exactly. It's like you take, I think that's what happens when you micromanage. If you micromanage people, you whittle away their initiative. Because every time they do something, you're like, no, do that. And then
they just like...
And then you're just like, okay, fine, I'm just going to sit back and just do the one thing that you've told me to do. If you tell people that's not your vertical, don't do that, then you might be missing something that, oh, they're actually interested in this. Let me support it. Because obviously, like, there's business priorities as well, right? So obviously there's a balance between what the business is doing and what the individual wants to do. Because some people, like, they'll be really like talkative in the Slack or the Discord or whatever you work with, but like the outcomes are just not there.
Yeah.
So that's a balance because it's how you see skill or will issue, right? Or genuine malice. And then that's really difficult to weed out. How do you address problems in an organization? I'm not saying that you have them, but like all organizations have problems. And how do you address that as a leader and get stuff fixed?
Well, I think you address it when it happens. So I think what I've learned is not to wait. So like, I believe in frequent feedback and doing it frequently because that's how you like improve and get get your team to where you want to go, and you do it right away. So it's like not waiting until the next performance review to highlight something that happened 3 months ago, because then that person's forgotten about it, and it's like it's hard to rehash that. So it's like basically after every client call or anything that we do, any campaign or whatever, we would praise obviously what went well, and we'd be like, that went well, but I always ask, how can we improve? And if I have an improvement point, I will make it known. So basically, after a call with, say, a client or maybe a PR announcement that we've done, I would praise and I would highlight what went well, but I would also go, but next time I think we could do this better, or this could have been done better. We should have done this, and you do it right away. So it's like kind of doing it frequently. And so I think people also appreciate frequent feedback because they want to know where they stand.
Yeah.
Instead of like after a call not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
It's like
then
everyone thinks that they've done a great job, or maybe they don't know where they stand.
Or they think they've done a bad job when they have done a good job.
Yeah.
No one knows. And having that direct feedback, because a lot of the time you get given general tasks, or you give out general tasks because you know you have the full organizational context. Whereas people, what they need to be is like, this is on your desk, this is your vertical, this is what you need to do, this is like your KPI.
Yeah, but also it's also highlighting and telling the team why what they're doing leads the whole overall thing. So like, for example, with our juniors, our account execs, it's not fun doing a media list, right? But it's telling them like, guys, if you build this really nice media list, it's actually going to really help our client.
What is a media list?
A media list in PR terms is a specific tailored list of journalists that we're going to approach for a particular story. And we don't like in our coverage, we don't like spam or like spray and pray kind of thing. We're very targeted. So if we're going to do a story on, say, more markets, we're going to pick particular journalists that are going to be interested in your product. And we're going to know who and which publication. We even think through where they sit, what time zone they're in. Because if the story is breaking at 10 a.m. in London time, we want to make sure we're going after either an Asian or a European reporter so that they can write the story. So we're just very tailored, right? But my juniors, it might feel like a mundane, it's just a research task, right? It might not feel fun to just build a media list, but we always tell them like if you build this, it's really going to make a difference.
Sounds like it will save a lot of time to be able to scrape this automatically.
What do you mean? Is it AI for it? Yeah, but okay. But the tailored part,
you can add that context yourself. So like time zone, what they've previously done, research.
Build me the tool that can. Maybe Perplexity can. But I don't know.
AI for PR. I don't know if that exists yet.
Let's
do
talk.
it. Yeah, let's do it. I love it. PR is a black box. Most people have no idea what it is. We recently spoke to a senior person in an organization that was having a huge release the week after, and they hadn't even thought about PR, right? Yeah. How would you educate founders, heads of marketing, even junior marketers, how PR works, what they should do, what are the basics, and why, at what point in their journey should they come to you?
Yeah. I just want to reshape the thinking of PR because I think what our industry has done is whittle down PR to just a media coverage.
Yeah.
But media coverage is only one part of it. Let's say it's PR communications because PR is the message. It's perception. So what we do when we onboard a client is we do a full-on media audit and we do a media positioning. Because, again, it's not just like the CoinDesk or the Blockworks article that you're going to get, on and then that's credibility. No, that is like that's just one item. What it is, it's really like your message and ensuring that is consistent across all of your channels, all of your marketing efforts, and it's ensuring, so the result is, it's not just a piece of coverage, it's ensuring that when people talk about your brand, they know who you are, they know what you do, they're familiar. But that takes time because we work with a lot of new companies. So if you want to build a brand, you can't expect them to know who you are in 3 months and in 6 months. But if they keep hearing about you, they know about what you do, they know about your industry, they know about your product, and they keep hearing about you in different directions, in podcasts and speaking opportunities at conferences, on social posts, but also on in media, then like a year from now, you can walk into your BD meeting or your sales meeting that you need to do to move the needle on your business, and you don't even need to spend that 30 minutes explaining what you do. You just get straight to the point. Getting your message across in the most efficient way, so that when you do when you have your business meeting or your next fundraise. Definitely.
This ties back to your point about echo chamber, right? Because some people, they don't focus on it because they don't think it affects the echo chamber. But if you want to like be in the big leagues, I don't mean like just the latest whatever L1 is competing on X, but like if you want to work with institutions, decision makers are not on X all the time. They don't have time.
I mean, okay, behind like exchange like Coinbase and even like say OKX, I'm saying 2 exchanges here. They work with multiple agencies and they work with regional agencies. I mean, they're a global exchange, but like they have an agency for New York, for the US, they have an agency for Europe, they have like there's actually massive comms teams behind what looks like one main founder, one main spokesperson, but the message is really crafted and handled. Like again, let's bring back the royal family. There's a massive team behind that. It's not just one PR firm. Please, that would tear that team apart.
You know who had bad royal PR?
Who?
The French. They got killed.
Really?
They're the revolution, and the royals got killed. Yeah, maybe the royal family needs PR. Otherwise,
they do. Well, they have like.
Yeah, otherwise, the monarchy might get dismantled. Who knows?
Well, yeah, but I love it because whenever I see like notable stories, I try to learn the comms behind it. I always think about what goes on behind the scenes.
What makes a good story?
Something that's memorable, and that you learn something from and you remember.
Vas from your team gave me a great list, which was like bizarre, data, human.
So that's news value. So that's seven news values. So this is like with news. This is journalism 101. Yeah. So there's 7.
Yeah.
So it's impact. So stories that like say Russia-Ukraine war impacts the world, or the Trump tariffs, that was big impact. Conflict, people love tension. People love I want to say Russia-Ukraine. Then there's bizarre. What's strange? What's not normal? So it's when man bites dog, not dog bites man. This is a typical thing. Timeliness. A lot in crypto, right? It's like Bitcoin's up to 95 today, but yesterday people were like bearish because it was like at 80K. So timeliness, and then trending. Trends move really fast. And then prominence, so people of interest, celebrities. So that's why whenever like there's a celebrity shilling a token, people pay attention more. And then the last one, human interest. Human interest is one.
That's it.
Human interest, yes, because people love a story, like
feelings.
People love the story of a trader made it rich quick, or that's not really a meaningful story, but yeah.
Yeah, you see that a lot in the evolution of advertising, right? Because in the 50s it was this soap is great because it has these 5 features. Yeah. And I think that's where we are with crypto. It's like this chain is great because these 5 features. Yeah. And then you had lifestyle. So it's like, with this car, I like going down to the beach. So it's like freedom. And then after that, it was Johnny Depp on a motorbike for an aftershave. It's like, there's no relation. It's just a feeling. And then you've got influencer content, which is kind of new in 2010s. And then you had user-generated content, so authenticity. And now you have like Reddit stories that only mention a product very vaguely, which I think is really interesting. So what were the 7 again? It was, I think this is probably the most important thing for everyone on the podcast, right? If a team wants to be newsworthy, what kind of stuff do they need to do? So
the story needs to have an impact, or you can have all either. Basically, a combination of this will make a killer story. It doesn't have to be one. So impact, prominence, so someone of interest, or if you have a either a celebrity or even a government leader or something that's prominence. Timely, it has to be timely. And trending. Bizarre, something that's weird, also makes interest. Human, and then conflict. It's a conflict. It's an impact and conflict, yeah.
So like,
But conflict, you don't want to be there. But like conflict is like the tension. Okay, conflict is like ETH versus Bitcoin, DeFi on ETH versus Bitcoin.
Interesting. So
Like the
tribalism.
conflicting, yeah.
So you could it would be like Trump bites Democrat senator over argument over cupcake. That would be a great
Yes,
story, right?
exactly.
Try to combine all the two.
Do you have this trend on TikTok going on right now where it's like, I'm so hungry, I could eat, and then it's like someone says something really random?
I haven't seen that.
My team just flagged it to me, but it's that. It's like, I'm so hungry, I could eat Ripple. It's like, it's weird. Doesn't make sense, but it's weird.
I think there's a push towards bizarre, surreal marketing.
Yeah.
Because we're tired of like corporate stuff. But it's interesting. No, I think this has been really useful. I think that everyone who watches this will probably understand more about PR than they knew before. And probably more about you than they knew before as well. Because I don't often see kind of your story being told.
I really appreciate that you've asked me these questions and we've had this conversation.
It's been great. I really
Thank
enjoyed it.
you so much, June.
You're so welcome. Yeah,
Thank
pleasure.
you. All right.